La Traviata, libretto by Francesco Maria Piave. First performance on the 6th of March 1853 at the Teatro La Fenice, Venice. By the 1st of January 1853, the libretto of La Traviata had been completed and sent to the Venetian censors for approval. Verdi wrote to his friend Cesare de Sanctis, "For Venice I'm doing La Dame aux Camélias, which will probably be called La Traviata. A subject for our own age. Another composer wouldn't have done it because of the costumes, the period, and 1,000 other silly scruples. But I'm writing it with the greatest of pleasure." Paris, the middle of the 19th century. A lavish reception is being held in the house of Violetta Valéry, the famed courtesan. Alfredo Germont, a young man who is secretly in love with the party's charming host, is new to the crowd. Following the dark atmosphere of the prelude, which sums up the drama of the entire story, there is a burst of the spontaneous, cheerful melody of the Brindisi scene. After the guests have left, Violetta feels unwell. Alfredo helps her, and then declares his love for her. He sings an intimate melody whose every phrase expresses the state of mind of the character. In this duet, the real mood of La Traviata appears for the first time. Violetta gives Alfredo a camellia and begs him to return as soon as the flower wilts. Alone, Violetta tries to erase the illusion of ideal love, singing the praises of freedom. But Alfredo's voice echoes her inner turmoil. In a country house near Paris, Alfredo and Violetta are happy and in love. Giorgio Germont, Alfredo's father, arrives unexpectedly. He wants Violetta to end her scandalous relationship with his son because of his reputation in society. Violetta makes the sacrifice. She leaves Alfredo and goes back to her life as a courtesan. In Germont's Andante, Alfredo, after having read Violetta's farewell letter, is comforted by his father. Verdi considered this to be the best cantabile for baritone that he had ever written. a grand masked ball at Flora Bervois' house. Violetta arrives accompanied by her new protector. Alfredo, fuming with jealousy, throws all the money he has won from gambling at Violetta's feet as a sign of his disrespect. Violetta has fallen ill with tuberculosis. She is on her deathbed, in the company of her faithful maid, Annina. Violetta reads in a letter from Giorgio Germont that Alfredo has learnt the truth and is rushing to be with her. Violetta's tragic recitative is accompanied by the notes of Alfredo's melody Di quell'amor che palpita.
E bell'uomo. Il barone fu ferito, però migliora. Alfredo in strano suolo.
Violetta senses death coming closer. When Alfredo arrives, they only have time to share a tender daydream of a future together, far away from Paris. But Violetta's fate is already set. Her strength returns suddenly, but it is a fleeting moment. Violetta falls to the ground, lifeless. La Traviata is the opera of scandal. Romantic and pure love is found in the character of a prostitute who dies after having been transformed by that sentiment. Verdi took inspiration from a story that really happened. The famed courtesan Alphonsine Duplessis died at the very young age of 23. Shortly before the novel based on her, La Dame aux Camélias, by Alexandre Dumas fils, was published. Just as Alphonsine, Verdi's Violetta is the undisputed heroine of the drama, thanks to her human qualities. She is fragile, tenacious, independent, and prepared to sacrifice herself. She is a woman who is willing to change and let herself be guided by her sentiment. She represents a threat to Giorgio Germont, not because she is a courtesan, but because she is a woman who is truly in love. For a society that, to quote Oscar Wilde, knows the price of all things but the value of none, a prostitute is unmanageable, unpredictable, and untamable. But Violetta doesn't act rashly. Her strength is in her sacrifice. Her sentiment is incorruptible. She will not compromise, because in love there is no compromise. It is absolute. Her motto would perhaps be all or nothing. No matter what the cost, this is what it must be. By portraying the present society, and so eliminating the distance between stage and audience, Verdi forced the spectator to look at himself in the mirror, stripped down to the reality that represents him. A reality that Verdi bitterly criticizes, not by using the arms of satire nor caricatures, nor farce, simply with the truth. In the classification of Verdi's most performed operas in the world, La Traviata comes in first place. In the classification of the most performed operas in the world, La Traviata comes in second place.